We'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. I will recess the regular session and we will continue with the public hearing on the engineer's report for the tile repairs and improvements on DD 34.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Colton Cunningham.
I'm Jacob Hagan for Bolton Mink. Does anyone here did not attend the first meeting? We'll kind of quickly go through what we've already gone through, just to kind of get you guys up to speed to some degree. And then we'll take it off from there, I guess.
I did watch the video, so I don't know if that counts or not.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Could you hear okay?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
It's like any other Zoom meeting, so.
Okay. Yeah. So, we'll quickly go through the drainage district procedure. Drainage districts, they're owned by you, the landowners, and the trustees, make the final decisions on them. We're here, presenting the engineer's reports. In it, we've presented a repair option and some improvement options in order to improve the drainage in the district. Every landowner has a right to file an objection and to have their objection be heard at the hearing. If 50% of the landowners owning 70% of the land object to a portion of the project or all of it, then that portion of the project won't go forward. And you have, this meeting was continued from 2 weeks ago, so you have until the close of the hearing, the official closure of the hearing to file an objection.
Yeah, so we'll kind of go over, the existing tile as it is now. So this is in the Deer Creek watershed, probably 5 or 6 miles east of Northwood here. We've got a ditch that outlets direct out of it, and then there's actually 2 tiles on this lower portion. There's the original old tile from 1920, I think, around that time period. 1919, and then there's the 1977 tile that was done, and it was improved to about right here. So there was an old 1920 or 1919 tile and the 1977 tile running along this portion. Upstream of that, there's only the original tile. And that original tile is why we're here today. There was a meeting held, which is landing the board in August, in which that tile was considered in poor condition. And it needed to be repaired. How it uses useful life at this point, 100 years later. Here's just kind of some maps we've shown. This is showing all the district tile in the water, in the districts. So every one of these blue lines with a little dot on it is a district tile. All we're looking at today is the main. However, all of these laterals, if you would ever want to, you could petition for them to be improved or repaired. They are district facilities, just like the main tile is. And then we've got, here we've kind of estimated, looking at up on those of all the kind of tile that's taking place, showing that this tile serves as the outlet for all your drainage needs in the district. The existing tile, we've kind of already gone over this. The existing tile, so the design standard for the tile was about 1/4 inch. Our new standard, it's been in place since about the 1950s, 1960s, is 1/2 inch of drainage. That's largely was due to changes in our cropping. If you look at our supplemental report, you can see that there was, back in 1925, only 25% of Fort County was growing corn. It was quite a bit more hay ground, pasture ground, small grains. As that cropping has changed, and we needed that drainage even more for corn and soybean rotation, the standard has gone up. So now, looking at that watershed now, it's 95% corn and soy. The 1976 plus the 1919 tile, we were looking at serving about 3,600 acres, total of about 3/87 inch. So it's still undersized, even with the 1976 tile. constructed, it still does not meet the half-inch drainage coefficient. So 3/8 is, it's getting closer than most tiles in the Worth County. And then you can see it kind of hits that 1/4 inch. Then where it just becomes the 1919 is actually is a little better, the old tile, a little better capacity than what the old tile was. But it still is only around a 1/4 inch or less than a 1/4 inch for most of it.
And that's, these numbers are the theoretical numbers if the tile's operating at full capacity. I know, some in the last meeting, you know, definitely feel that the 1919 tile is not operating at its capacity.
If the joints are misaligned, if it's bunch spots, it's full of silt, it's not, you're not getting that full capacity, it's assuming full circle. And so what we proposed is a upper main repair. This would be just to repair the existing tile in the upper portion. So we've got, this is just replacing the tile that's already there with the next available size. So legally, I think this goes from 22 and kind of backwards. North is this way in this picture. And we're working our way up. So I think it's a 22, and it drops down to a 20. We would go to a 24-inch tile, 18, 15, 12, just following that same route as that existing tile, ending it around the same spot.
How big is the other end?
The other end, so the 1976, 1977 tile that's that went into is a 36.
How can we only go to 24?
For repair, we can only go what it is now. This is the repair option, which is just taking the exact same tile size it is now and putting the exact same tile size in there.
And we'll talk about it a little more later, but, you know, repairs have different requirements in terms of, you know, a repair is required, whereas improvements are voted on. But also when it comes to things like farm wetlands and things like that, repairs won't impact those, improvements will.
Yeah, so we've got here, total construction costs are around almost $800,000. That comes out to about $224 per acre on average for the entire watershed, the entire district. This district was reclassified just this past year, and we would recommend using that same schedule. Is anyone here for that assessment schedule reclass hearing? We use that same schedule that we already developed for that. Move on. So then we proposed a lower main repair, and then we also have an upper main repair. We put the two together for our cost estimate. At that last hearing, there were some questions asked. What it costs to just do the upper repair or upper improvement and leave the lower as it is. I guess for the sake, I'll go through this a little bit. We were gonna propose cleaning out the ditch, running a new line, shorter distance than what the current one is, 42-inch and 36-inch tile, interconnecting it with 1977 tile. Go to the next slide. And then the upper, we would go to a 36-inch, so it match the exact same size as the current 1977 tile is 30, and we work our way down. We would flush the existing tile since it's been reported to be in poor condition, and we would connect all private tile to the full improvement. This would get you that half-inch drainage coefficient. So that's the difference, I guess. We're gonna go back. A 36 is a half-inch, a 24 is a 1/4 inch. That's the, you know, think of it that way. Going up to a 36 from a 24 will get you twice as much capacity. And we've got that estimated total cost at around $2.353 million, or $666 for the entire watershed. I did hand out cost estimate just to do, it's double-sided. And that would be just the cost of the upper improvements. So there's some discussion and questions asked about what if we just improved, let's go back to that. Yeah, what if we just did this improvement option here and we didn't do the stuff downstream? How much would that cost? That came out to $965,000. Compare that to the $791,000 that would cost to repair it. So spend about 175,000 more to get twice as much capacity. Now, you are still gonna be holding on to that lower main at your outlet. So you're gonna have, there's gonna be some restriction downstream. Somewhat remedy that. I didn't include it, but I thought we probably would put in some intakes. We always put intakes on our road crossings anyways. I think I called out 12 inch. I'd probably make a 24 inch. So directly upstream and downstream of the connection to give it a spot that if it needs to blow out, it'll blow out there as opposed to blowing out tile. To try to increase that capacity in that upstream ground. You're probably still not gonna get a 1/2 inch, but you're gonna get more than probably a 1/4 because you're gonna have that head pushing on that tile downstream. Is there
Any questions about,
questions?
either the repair or the improvement or just the upper main improvement? Yes, sir.
If you were in the future to repair, or excuse me, improve the whole thing to a 1/2 inch, do I understand right that just the repair part would have to be redone again?
No,
So
so if we're improving, if we do improve the upper part and then we go back later to improve the lower parts.
No, I mean, just if you just took the repair,
Oh, okay.
you'd have to do that again.
Yes.
Yeah,
If you wanted to improve it later.
yeah, right.
Yes.
Basically, like, by making that repair, just doing the repair now, you go 5 years down the road and go downstream further. That repair that we just did is still only at that quarter coefficient. It's not up to today's standards.
Right.
So
You'd have to
would it
do
be
over
worth
again.
doing that? No, probably not, because you're not up to this design standard, so you
Yeah.
didn't gain a ton from it, other than you have a cleaner tile. A clean functioning tile, but you didn't get up to the design standards, and we're seeing a lot of that happened in the 60s and 70s, that they still didn't get it up to the design standards when they put new stuff in. They still left it under design, and then here we are just 50 years down the road, 40 years down the road with that same problem.
Having to redo it again,
yes,
the whole thing again.
Because we've got gentlemen that have been in here and said, well, I already paid for this once.
Yeah.
I know, we know, but it stinks because they just didn't get done right the first time. So
But if you go with the improvement, then,
you're loaded for 100 years,
yeah, right, yeah.
basically.
That improvement, or the improvement was how much on the upper?
the improvement was 965,000. So you're spending about 165,000 more, but if 20 years down the road, you have to spend 800,000 to line a new line right beside your old line that you just repaired. If you just did the repair, you're gonna spend 800,000. And then 20 years down the road, you wanna get that double, get that 1/2 inch capacity, you spend another 800,000, run the line right beside it. Here you'll spend 965,000.
So you can do this improvement like this and hook on the existing 36, but in your other proposal, you needed for 42 to hook up to this.
So that 42 was to make it so that that lower portion has a 1/2 inch capacity as well. So that way it would be able to fully take the water upstream of it. By now, if you just do the upper improvement, you're gonna be having a 1/2 inch, the guys downstream will have a 1/4 or 3/8 inch. So there'll be some restriction upstream, and also the guys downstream will be negatively affected as well, because more of that pipe's already taken up with water from upstream.
Well, it still goes across top of the building, but
Yeah,
that lower end is completely full now. You're not gonna get the benefit on the top end that you think you would without that lower end being improved.
yes, yep, yes.
I'm on the lower end and the water runs across there every year. Every year it runs across. So you can do whatever you wanna do. I can't vote, but I'm just saying that any money you spend on that top end, you'll not get full advantage unless you do the lower. And if you wait to do the lower end, you're just gonna pay more, 5 years from now. But it's full. It blows out of that, all those tile there where it crosses the road, it's water's coming out of that.
One comes out, it comes out where I'm at too, so it's the same exact thing I go through.
I understand, so I mean, I don't, well, I agree, I'm just saying, it does the same thing where I'm at.
Is this something that needs to be looked, you know, part of it done now, part of it done 5, 10 years down the road? To bring it all up to, I mean, obviously, it's a big chunk of money if we did it all now,
Yeah.
2.3 million.
Yep, 2.3.
I can see the writing on the wall that this project will not go anywhere probably at 2.3 million. And I don't blame them. So, you know, the fact I think is we need to fix something and get started, and then in 5, 10 years down the road, when this other can get paid down, paid off, look at going the other direction too, but. And I know chicken or the egg, right? You start at the bottom end, you start at the top end.
Yeah, normally we'd say start at the bottom end, but in this situation, the top end is.
The original, and that's the original.
It's the really old tile, it's
Yeah.
broken.
Well, I really wouldn't say the lower end is successful right now.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying that it runs across that field every year.
Mhm.
So in no way, shape, form is the lower end success.
Yeah, we were reading through the plans for 77, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a bigger tile.
Well, I think it should have been, probably it should have been open ditch, actually.
Yeah, that lower portion,
Yeah.
yeah, we would, because our tile is still using the 1977 tile as a second one, to get that half inch.
You get to about a 48-inch tile, and that's where it starts to be cheaper to have an open ditch. And here, to improve the lower main, you have the existing 42-inch from 76 and then another 42-inch. So an open ditch would be, if you were doing it all from scratch, an open ditch would be the best bet.
So back to that point there, like, if you add on the top, you're cutting your flow in half from what you want it to be.
Correct.
So I don't care what tile you put in at the south end, it's going to underperform. So, I mean,
Yeah, it won't get the full.
right,
It'll get,
that's all I'm saying.
it probably will get better than a half, or better than a quarter, just because it's got the head to push.
Yeah, it'll be better, but
but it
it's
won't-
not
it
going
won't
to
be a
be
half.
what you would like it.
No, it still won't be a full.
It won't be, it won't be the value that it's, the money you spend isn't gonna be, you won't get full value. I can't tell you what the number is, but it won't be full value.
What was it rated in 77? The range coefficient for it, it was about, they put in about a quarter.
So that was sufficient for that.
So the standard was developed about a half, to get a half inch in the 1950s, 60s.
Why did they only do a quarter? in
That's a great
77?
question.
You don't know. They didn't say why they only did a quarter. And I wish they would have said that.
Probably cost.
Would have same money.
We run into it all the time.
Yeah, we just had a hearing this morning where they did the same thing in 1976. They put a new tile in, and that one was like 10th. So.
Right, but the farmers they were tiling more to that same coefficient. They weren't tiling to a half inch
Yeah,
coefficient.
there was not the pattern tile.
Exactly, so that makes the difference, but, you know, you didn't put in tile at 50 feet in 1970. In 60, 70, that didn't happen until, you know, I don't, 90s or 2000 before they started doing that on a regular basis. So,
I guess it boils down to, three options. Like you said, if you go with 2 million project, it's not gonna pass, so nothing happens then. We gotta get something going here, doing something. And if we just do the repair, and then later try to improve it, then we've lost all that money that we put into the repair. So I guess that leaves us with at least doing the upper half now, and then sometime in the future doing the lower half.
But this still have to be voted on, correct? The improvement.
An improvement, right?
The only problem then is you're taking the chance of that getting voted down and got nothing.
Well, the repair would still,
Right.
Yeah, and as a-
If that gets voted down, we are, by law, we have to keep it in repair. So most likely what's gonna happen today is the repair is gonna happen no matter what.
It just
Sorry,
depends on
guys,
whether,
that's our job, that's what we're held, to do, it's code.
it just depends on if you wanna do that $175,000 more to make that upper tile ready for down the road.
Yeah.
And yeah, what we've discussed, and we're not at the classification, we already did a classification schedule. And what we've talked about is that repair would have cost $791,000, the whole district would have had to pay that, right? $791,000. So we think it's fair that that would be, if they voted for the improvement on the upper portion, that additional $175,000 would be paid just by the upper portion. But the whole 800 wouldn't be paid by everyone, because they would have had to pay that amount anyways. But the additional cost,
Yeah.
just on people on the upper portion. And we would make a schedule for that.
And then if you repair it, up to standard in a few years, if you just do the repair part now, then that's just a waste of money. You
I
don't
would
have to
think
redo it.
so. I would think so.
Yeah, if there's an improvement in 10 years from now,
Yeah,
yeah, 1937. It has still been a while ago. 50-year-old tile now.
But when they put that tile in 1977, the whole district, that was divided amongst the whole district, wasn't it?
It more than likely was paid for by the entire district.
So we paid for that on the upper end of it, and we still got zero benefit on it.
Mhm.
So now we get to pay to improve it now, we get to pay for just about all of it.
Well, the whole district would pay for 800,000 in the last 75 would be paid for by
If
them.
they bring the lower part up to standard later on, will they be responsible then for that cost?
We would make a new schedule, that the upper would still pay a portion, because there is some benefit,
Okay,
like the guy in black. said.
Some,
Yeah, right. There would be some benefit, so they would still be paying a portion of it, but probably the more of the cost would be on the lower. You'd Probably kind of see it in your approach.
all right.
Like,
there is-
we try to make it so basically it would have been as if you did the whole thing all together, you're all gonna pay what you would have paid, is how it would work.
Was this petition? Is that why this is going on?
You guys had a meeting in August, it must have been brought to your attention.
Yeah, we had a landowners meeting back, this is our third time meeting on this one?
Third or fourth.
Who did the petition?
Yeah, the tile was all busted, right?
Josh came to us,
Yeah,
Rosenberg came to us and asked about repairs, because he had made some repairs, and found nothing but full tile.
yeah, the tile was crushed.
And then you guys had your hearing, and you guys talked about a repair, and then you guys told us they want to look at an improvement option too.
We were gonna try to do it without engineering, but we were over the threshold, we couldn't.
It was getting costly just for the repair.
The estimates were coming away with pressure.
So we had to go this route.
did the threshold get moved up for years ago?
Yeah, it got moved up January 1st to
Just a
22.
couple of years, yeah, you're.
It's 196,000.
No, it's more than-
196, 197.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
It
quite,
was 50, right?
yeah,
That was up
yeah,
last week.
it went up a lot, and that's, obviously, we like these guys, but if we can afford to do a project without them.
Right.
We do go that route because it saves you guys.
Yeah, it's 196,000 right now.
Thank you.
Got moved up in, January 1st to 23. Wasn't that long ago, just a year ago. I misspoke there. I thought it was back in 22, but it wasn't.
So do we have any more comments or thoughts on the projects themselves for now, before we kind of have some softer stuff relating to how it's paid for, how you benefit? Before we move on to that, does anybody have any thoughts about the project? What we present so far?
As of right now, our monster says not.
What's the average cost of tile project increases per year, you think?
I would say an average in tile improvement project cost is probably around $1,000 at this point.
No, but per year, what's the percentage increase? So if you didn't do,
If you
I
didn't do
mean,
it then.
going forward, I mean, cost of money right now is a lot, but what's the average cost? About 3%, 5%?
Yeah, probably not the same as inflation. So,
Just say the average is 3% on $2.6 million. It's pretty significant every year. And 5 years down the road, somebody petitions it on the lower end and says, this is not working for me.
yeah,
It's gonna be a $3.6 million project.
It'll always be more expensive moving forward.
It's not gonna get cheaper either, yeah.
If we decide to go with the improvement on the upper end. Since that's an improvement, it still has to be voted on by just the upper end people? Or who?
Technically, right now, everyone needs a vote. Because
And when,
you're all.
and how long will it be then before this project could even start?
So we have slides. I always recommend doing work in the summer. I know a lot of people do a lot of work in the winter, so you do time to time. But we're laying big pipe, giant pain to do, we don't frost and. But frost, so I always recommend in the summer, I think I get better bids. I do it in the summer because it's just easier to work, you don't have to break the frost first, and then because of that, the district will take care of it. So yeah, I guess if it went to construction, we would, at the end of construction, we would have a completion hearing. And everyone would be invited who was affected by the construction. And all lands along the work area, this is kind of what it'll look, well, it'll look better than this, but you kind of get an idea of what it looks like. We recommend the district pay 110% of the average county yield for that year, for whatever crop it was, and then Iowa State has a average price for every month. We do one calendar year. So you compensated for that crop that you've lost. And then on top of that, because we're coming in there with excavators, dump trucks, we do push the topsoil on one side and put the brown dirt on the other side. But there's still gonna be some mixing, there's gonna be some rocks, you're gonna have some fertility and compaction. We recommended paying 2 years worth of cash rent in addition to that. You get the 1 year's crop, then 2 years cash rent. Basically, the district will rent that ground for 2 years, but you'll continue to farm there. We kind of try to take that loss for you. We'll survey the work and we'll recommend it for every person. We recommend the same amount for every person based on these formulas. I've done it before, we've asked people to bring their yields. I don't want to do it again. Everyone yields 4 bushel corn then. But you can submit additional claims. If you're not happy with what we recommended, you can submit more claims. Trustees still make the final decision though.
Well, the question was how soon this could happen, I mean, so we could put it out if we approved it today. We could put this out for RFPs tomorrow if you wanted to, and you could bid it 2 ways. What would it cost to do it in the winter, what would it cost to do it in the spring? I'm guessing if you want your tile repaired, you'd soon have it done sooner than later, so you don't have to have another year if we get floods, so. You
Yeah,
know,
we could bid it with the
you could
idea.
bid it, I mean, you guys for RFPs either way.
We'll probably put it out for bids. It'll be in January by the time we get bids.
Yep.
Holidays. And then probably get the contract work done end of January. We could bid it with the idea that they could start right away. If they would like to, the contractors.
If it stays 40 degrees out, they can still dig.
Yeah, it may work this year.
It's true.
So we could bid it with the idea that they could get started for whatever they might be looking for. Yes.
The crop damage, then, if you do it during the summer, it gets paid by the drainage.
Yes. So you pay-
So
everybody pays.
we're getting compensation, but we're paying for it. So really, you ain't getting it, right?
Yes.
It sounds, yeah.
For your neighbors help me.
So yeah, so this assessments, we kind of already touched on it. I think people have a pretty good idea of how it works. But with projects of this size, the trustees can choose to, spread assessments over 10 up to 20 years. And then the district pays with drainage warrants, which are basically IOUs from the district to the contractor. So, those drainage warrants are the trustees set an interest rate. It's simple interest, not compound interest. So it's not as bad, but, there is an interest rate attached to that. And then you can choose to pay early, you can choose to go with private financing to avoid paying interest. And then there may be tax advantages. We're not accountants. We can't legally tell you there's tax advantages, but as with any kind of, expense or improvement on your farm, there may be tax advantages that you can take advantage of.
So here we have the current assessment schedule as it was approved in May. And you can see the red is the higher assessed and the green is lower assessed. And it follows pretty typical of what we look. So the assessment schedule that we use determine how everyone benefits. We look at a couple different factors. One is how wet is your soil? So if you've got more poorly drained soil, you're gonna need this tile more than someone who's up on the hill with lighter soil. So that's our first factor. Our second factor is how close to the tile are you? So the closer you are to that tile, you can stub into it right away. You know, you got the tile running right here, you can connect into it directly, as opposed to someone way out here who's gotta run through everyone else to get his tile out to it. So he's gonna pay more if you're right on it. And then the next one is how much of the tile had to be built to serve you? So the farther away you are from the outlet, because this guy right here, he could have just dumped it right into the ditch. He didn't really need, he probably would actually rather you guys not pattern tile, because now he's dealing with your water. So he's gonna pay less than someone who's all the way up here, that tile had to be built at a cost to the district, to come all the way here. So he's gonna pay more than someone up here is. And that's why typically we see the upper end, where the tile is usually where the wet spot is too, is gonna be your reds, and you're gonna have your greens on kind of the fringes, down lower portion of the tile. So this was, I think this schedule here is for $100,000.
1 million.
Okay, this year is for a $1 million. So it's
So if, for instance, you did the $2.3 million repair, to estimate your dollars, you multiply it by the 2.35. And then find your parcels and multiply it across. And if you need any help figuring any of that out, please see us after the hearing.
What's the range from the least value to the most value?
So typically the high is around 2.5 times the average. That's how it usually works out. The highest assessed guy, which I think in this situation, the highest assessed. $600 an acre, $621 an acre, a million.
And then you see on this lower end, you got some that are, this one's $12 an acre on average, so.
Big range.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's 600, you took that times 2.5, you get, well, yeah, the average on this one for the full improvement was 666. So if you took the time, so it's a little bit less than 2.5 on this one. Took that 622 times 2.3, it'd be less than 2.5, the average.
Well, it's $50,000 farm tax. I mean, let's be realistic. We're not talking about $2,000 ground.
And actually, in our fundamental report, we do break that down. Do we have it on a slide here? Okay, we'll get to some of the economics. Yeah.
What is the factor that you're multiplying by for the increase from the 800 to the 950? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that, it was right around half the watershed was in the upper portion. So
Okay.
that part would pay the additional 175, and we would follow the same idea. We'd have to make a schedule for it.
Okay.
But we would follow the same category of what we already got here. So you're gonna still see this guy is still gonna be probably your highest.
But the whole watershed pays for that 175 votes for it.
the whole watershed does vote, yes.
Yes, because they're all on the same, everyone on the same schedule has the same vote, yes.
Any other questions about assessments? So, I do like to point out that there are obviously some benefits to drainage. You see increased yields, you get into the field sooner. It helps your root development, so, without drainage, it illustrates, you know, if you have a higher water table, you're gonna get poor root development in the spring, and so then, in the summer, when you don't have the water, when it's dry, you don't have roots as deep to go, get that water. So you do end up, even when it gets dry in the summer, you have a benefit from your spring drainage. And then down here, You also get increased, input efficiency. This is from a study done at Iowa State through Dr. Castellano and others. And some of this is environmental, dealing with global warming and things like that. But you can see here, you're gonna get, better use of your nitrogen fertilizer, and, this is poorly drained, this is more drained.
So, yeah, there's been several studies done in the past and current. What are the yield increases you kind of are looking at? Ohio State's been doing it since 1984. They've been looking at, they're seeing 25, 40% of silty clay soil. That is out in Ohio. Iowa State did one pretty recently on some loess soil, which is a little different. It was in eastern Iowa. They still saw a yield increase. This North Dakota State one was, they studied 2,500 fields across the Midwest. And just on soybeans, saw a yield increase. And this one was down in the 80s for Iowa State, so a little different time, but it seems to be that you see a yield increase on every study. There is some yield advantage to it. Then we did look at what is this kind of point you brought up about what does this cost compared to what it used to cost? In 1920, when they were originally did this project, the average assessment was $29 per acre. And the average land value in North County was $176 an acre. So that was, as a percentage of their land value, it was spending about 16.5% of their land value. And their average corn revenue, which would have been the average yield times the average price, I think it was 40 cents, and they were getting yields of like 38 bushel an acre. That was 55% of 1 year's crop. Now, if you look at the proposed improvement relative to the average land value, we were looking at about 6% of their average land value. And last year's revenue wasn't, I don't know if we're gonna get, those prices are probably gonna come down this year from what I think it was over $6 last year for the average. But we were still at less than what this would have originally cost. Paul brought it up last time, that there was, during the time the Panama Canal was built, there was more dirt moved and more money spent in Iowa tiling than there was during doing the Panama Canal. So it really was a huge investment that was made 100 years ago. And then this is just straight off of Iowa State's website. You can feel free, we just kind of given it to you as a general starting point. If you want to take this home with you. They've been using corn, we plugged in what the soil types were for this district. And then we just used their yields that they had already in their spreadsheet. So if you want to take it home with you and find this on the website, we have it listed where the website is. You can download this, sell yourself, put in your own yields. If you look at your soil maps, what is your yield look like on one that's well drained versus your poorly drained ground? Can you bring those yields up? What will your new average be? So we came up with corn and soybeans just look like it was around $120 an acre increase in profits using $5. Using $5 and $12 soybeans, the yield increases. We did 10% rate of return. And yeah, every farm will be different. It's on if you pattern tile, like this assumption was you're gonna spend the $666, and then you're also gonna spend like $500 an acre tiling your farm on top of that. So we've already got pattern tile in your field. You're probably not gonna see the yield increases, but you're also not gonna see the cost. It's high. So that was kind of one way to adjust for that.
Yeah, and then farmed wetlands, so anytime you do a repair, none of this applies, but when you do improvements, you're increasing the drainage upon the ground, and, the NRCS does have thoughts about that when it comes to what they consider farmed wetlands. So, it's important that you check with the NRCS, get it, if an improvement ends up happening, you get your wetlands delineated. And then, it's up to the landowner. The district can't do that for for the landowners, it has to be the landowners.
And if they find that there are wetlands on your farm, this example here, they found a wetland on this farm. You would either, the first thing you should do is argue with them, say, it's not a farm wetland. Tell them, be sure to bring in any tile maps you have that are pre-1986. To try to convince them that it's already been converted. If you still get a wetland, the USDA, there is possible penalties. You either won't be able to farm that ground, or you'll have to buy mitigation somewhere else, or you'll be out of the farm programs. They do have some pretty strict penalties when it comes to farm wetlands. We, as a district, don't have any responsibility towards that. That's entirely. And
If we ask them to delineate the wetlands, so to give them to you guys ahead of time, they won't give them to us, so.
hopefully you don't have any fun. It will take them 6 months to a year to get back to you, if you request it. Is there any other questions or comments? Anything about the, guys, we just kind of ran through the last few slides. Any questions on those? What is the next step? Where do we go from here? So the next step would be, you guys can either file objections or you can voice you cannot, if you voice your objections, it's worth nothing you have to have it in written writing if you want to go to court afterwards. So let's say you say, I don't want to do this project, the board still votes yes. If it's not in writing, we will not be able to go to litigation over it. If you write your objections, you could go to litigation if they vote counter to what you want. If there is no objections, if there's a desire to move forward, the board will vote yes or no on a project. And then from there, we'll put it out for bids. Then we'll go out for bids. We'll probably try to get it out before Christmas, but we won't open bids until after January or in January. And then we'll have a contract probably done a couple weeks after that. Whatever the low bid contractor is, would work start either this winter or this spring. And then we'll get it all wrapped up by the end of the year. You guys will be back in here for a completion hearing. Probably either midsummer or after harvest, depending on how the time works. We won't try to do it during harvest.
That was for just to repair them.
That would be for repair or improvement.
Or,
If there's nothing, if you guys vote no on everything, and we don't do anything, then this report will be a part of the official record, somebody can resurrect it in the next 10 years, or you guys, or we just.
We have to do the repair. Regardless of what happens on the.
Yes.
The
correct.
repair's been brought to our attention.
Yeah.
So we have to bring it up to good state of repair.
That's 791,000. Is cut and dried.
yeah.
That's fine.
About 175.
Choices. Today we have three.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
And so how do we decide out of these three, which way we're going?
We can, there's more raise hands. It's really up to. Officially, if there's no objections, and our monstrance isn't met, the board can decide. But I think they would like to have input from you guys.
Yeah. We're spending your money.
We could do it by a vote even.
Do you want a week to think about it? Not you have the numbers ahead of you. We've met on this a handful of times already. But we did continue on earlier. We could, if need be, we could continue it for another week.
How was you going to plan on financing?
What's that?
How would you plan on financing it? You go that 20-year plan or what's your plan?
We usually do.
On this, if it was a complete, like 2.35, it's a 20-year deal more than likely at what, 8% at least?
Right now, yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, you guys, if you vote, whatever you vote, you have to set your interest rate
Yep.
today. Or
But
You could hopefully go to your bank and do better.
There's some of that.
yeah, it comes down to the repairs at 791,000, or the repairs plus the improvements at another 175. for the improvements at 2.3. There's your three options.
So if there's no objections, what would you guys do?
No brainer.
Yes, me as a board member or a farmer,
The repair,
depending on where I'm at in the district, but. yeah.
the 700,000,
You're not in the district.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, if there's no objections today, what would you do?
the repairs were brought to our attention. So
So at minimum, I think I would do the repairs plus 175. That'd be minimum. You know, if I'm looking long-term, you should do the whole project. I'm sorry, I mean, it's, like I said, it's not my money. And, but, I mean, that's, reality is that at some point it's gonna have to be done.
Yeah.
You said, once you improve the upper end, you're gonna increase the flow on the bottom end. You're gonna have more water coming across the ground and you're gonna be mad. So,
And we've gotten emails on the input from a lot of you as far as what you think we ought to do. Unless there's been any more added lately here.
And this report's good for 10 years, so 10 years down the road, if everybody agrees we need to move forward, it may not be this group of three, but the next group. Then the remainder that didn't get improved this time, could get improved next time. And the engineering costs for all this is already paid for. Well, the engineering costs we would gain after that would be the bid process, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct by saying that?
Yeah.
This report's paid for, it's ours.
The only thing we
Wrong
want
with
to
this.
do would be the cost estimate.
Yeah.
We get the cost.
And even if it went past 10 years, I mean, the project probably won't structurally change much, so it would be cheaper to still. But
Any other comments or questions for the engineers or us? If there isn't, I will take a motion to close this public hearing. Why not? We're not continuing it, are we?
You have to vote. Yeah.
Well, we gotta be out of close. We can't be in a public
no,
hearing and vote.
that's not, but I guess just a show of hands, who would like to see the full project go through? Is there anybody that thinks that's beneficial?
I can't vote, so
Right. Well, you're on the bottom end, right?
I'm not a landowner.
Oh, well, I got you.
So we know we gotta do the repairs. How many people here wanna do the repairs plus 175,000?
So,
To improve the.
So the rest of you then are just repairs only. How many people you got for that besides you? Anybody else? Okay. Any other information?
No direction you need to go?
So is there a motion to
so
close?
moved.
Second, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. I will reconvene the regular session and we can decide what we'd like to do here.
Being to that number, what do we wanna set the rates?
I would go 20 years at,
Up, you can go up to,
we can go between 10 and 20 and I would do
up to 20.
up to 20
Up to-
and I would do a minimum of 8.
8%.
So,
I'll make a motion to, set the rates for the project at 10 years, up to 20,
oh, you gotta set one or the other.
up to 20, sorry, up to 20,
You wanna do 20 years?
at 8% interest.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, that motion carries. So that's set.
I'll motion to go forward with the improvements on the upper portion.
That 170,
The extra.
do the repairs and that 170.
Take,
Sure.
take it to that level, right?
960,000.
960,000, right? And obviously, it's all pending bids, yeah.
But I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that motion carries. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Aye, we are adjourned.
Yeah, just.
So then how are they doing the bonds?
They had to have been filed, and the only ones that were filed were opposing the full 2.3 million.
I don't see anybody opposing us.
And every single person said repairs need done, but they didn't agree with